Hi. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. I will be on screen in 2 minutes.
No problem. Do you record? Do you use the video of this?
Yeah, so I'm just transitioning into doing that for this season. So
Cool.
just maybe
Okay.
get myself together.
No problem. I'll just change my background then. Hold on one second.
Almost there.
No problem. Just take your time.
I had the privilege of moving into my mom's with my two little ones and my husband. And so everything is everywhere.
Yeah, my two kids are high functioning autistic, so I have to be flexible. So I'm always like, yeah, sure, take your time. No big deal.
I appreciate it.
I'm pretty laid back like that.
Me too. It's that mom boss life.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'm going to switch me over to my computer. Right. On the computer. I think I'm going to go with my little army hat today.
Nice.
I'm a person now.
Hey, I listened to a couple episodes this morning.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and really enjoyed them. It was the one about it was part 1 and 2. I think it's a mini series of Dream.
Yes.
Yeah, so I listened to those this morning.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, I'll go back and leave a review too when I'm done. Right. I was like, I like to listen and leave a review.
Yeah.
I like to just get a feel for the podcast before we're on it, but also like, hey, thanks for having me on. Let me help you out. Let me leave a review.
I appreciate that a lot for
Yeah.
sure. Let me see. Light, I think. Okay. Okay. So first and foremost, thank you so much for signing up to be a part of my podcast. I love meeting new people, and I love really just being able to give you the opportunity to shine in your business while also adding value to my audience as well. And so that's the goal behind the podcast, is to really highlight my guests, but also, bring value to the female entrepreneurs that are part of my community. So I just want to make sure I have all the right information. There are two Samanthas that are on back to back. And so I wanted to make sure I had the right Samantha. So let's see, sellyouronlinecourse.com, right?
That's me. Yep.
Awesome. Cool. So this is definitely going to be a fun conversation. My audience is primarily female coaches, consultants, and content creators. So we are doing the courses. And then actually yesterday I interviewed someone who we really kind of talked about, where to start if you're looking to build a course, and like, we focused more on the structure of it yesterday. So I think today we can kind of talk about the marketing side of trying to get your course out there once you've done it. So I'll put these back to back as kind of like a part 1, part 2, which will be pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, that'll be great. My way of doing it is is borrowing other people's audiences, so we can talk a lot about when we talk about marketing. But yeah, it's a pet peeve of mine that everybody wants you to teach them. They want you to pay them to teach you how to make the course, but nobody wants to show you how to sell it.
Right. Right. So yeah, no, this is going to be great. So I flow very conversationally. This is, like I said, your time to shine. So, feel free to just go off on how amazing you are. And I'm just going to gas you up like, yeah, that's right.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Awesome. So we're already recording. So I'm just going to woosah and we're just going to begin. I'm going to turn this heater off. I've been having this heater on during my calls, and then I'd be like mid-sentence and start choking on the dry air. And it's like, that's not good. So, all right, here we go. Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to another loaded episode of the Brittany Smith podcast. I am your host, Brittany N. Smith, and today I have my new friend, Samantha King, and this is actually part 2 to last week's episode where we really introduced and started the conversation around online courses and building out those courses. And so today we're going to talk about the marketing side of that process, because as Samantha, we were just talking before this, that people want to, get you to the point where the course is built and it's done, but then they drop you off by the wayside and they don't really tell you how to market it. I want to let you in on a little secret. It's not going to sell itself until you position it to do so. All right. So Samantha, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us who you are, what you do, and why you are qualified to teach us about marketing our online courses.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm Samantha King. I'm super excited to talk about online courses. And as Brittany said, one of the reasons I do this is because my pet peeve is, we're out here learning how to create the course. Everybody wants us to pay them to teach us how to create the course, but nobody's talking about selling it. And unfortunately, that means when you go to sell it, you may have crickets, right? There may be crickets, and that's not what we want. You guys are awesome. You're putting your heart and soul into these courses. Let's help you sell it. I am a former teacher turned online course creator. So making learning experiences. Yeah, I did all that when I was in the classroom. And it's really funny because I've kind of had a bunch of different experiences, and they have included everything from sales and marketing, like telesales, to positioning, customer service management. Like I've done all kinds of things. And so I'm a little bit, I like to say, of a unicorn in that I have the teaching experience and I have the sales and marketing experience. And I bring it together to teach course creators how to sell courses with more leads generated by borrowing other people's audiences. So that really is kind of what I do. And I do that through our Authority Island membership program.
Ooh, that sounds pretty interesting. So I'm sure we're going to hear more about that a little bit later. So ladies, as you are pulling out your Brittany Smith podcast notebooks, because I know you have it in front of you, one of the things that I want to highlight that Samantha really just illustrated for us is that she too has had a journey that was made up of a bunch of different things that in not really any kind of order led her to where she is today. So I that's a recurring theme, Samantha, that the last couple of people that I've interviewed for the show, their story started way over here and then landed them somewhere completely unrelated to where they started. So that's pretty cool that there are lots of different pieces to the puzzle that led you to this space. So thank you for sharing that. So ladies, one of the things that I want you to remember, if you listened to last week's episode, matter of fact, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, I want you to pause this one and go listen to last week so that all of this that we talk about today makes sense in context. So last week, we kind of mapped out our low-hanging fruit. We mapped out like this smaller mini course. And where we kind of ended the episode actually is coming up with a launch strategy. Like, what does that look like? What are some of the things, Samantha, that we need to consider when putting together a launch strategy or release strategy for our online course?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing that I get missed is that course creators get really super focused on the launch, the sales page, the templates, the strategy, like all that kind of the funnels. Like this is the stuff because that's what they're teaching us out there. But let's talk a little bit about how the piece that gets missed is, how are we going to get people to actually look at that? Right. And this is the traffic thing. And yes, somebody might tell you it's about keywords and SEO and like all of those things. And that's great, but that's not my forte. What I like to work with my course creators on is getting traffic by collaborating. And that's what I really loved about, when we talked about your podcast and even the past episodes I was listening to, you really are out there talking to your community and getting them to see the possibility when we work together. And so for me, I really say to them, hey, part of your launch strategy needs to be how you're going to generate traffic. And really, it's kind of like I watch a lot of TV, movies, like I actually think in like television and movie terms, but I want you to think about it like a new movie comes out and they don't just put it out in the theaters and hope people will go and see it, right? The actors are doing press tours. There's advertisements. There's all this work to generate buzz. And I want you to do the same thing with your course. I want you to really think about, how can I generate buzz? And as a brand strategist, I mean, of course, one of the things I like to tell people is if you're only generating buzz during the launch, you're not going to have a lot of people there that are ready to hand over their credit card. You've got to be generating that buzz year round. And as a brand strategist, I'm sure you say this all the time, right? Like, what are you doing to get your brand out there?
Right. Brand awareness is everything. And you're absolutely right. You have to prep the audience before just throwing something in their face. And like you said, if you think about yourself as a shopper, I'm not going to buy a brand new product that I've never heard of without having information, one. And two, if it's something of a greater investment, I'm certainly not just going to drop it, right there on the spot. If I haven't heard anything about it, I haven't heard any specs, I haven't heard any reviews or anything like that. So in order for you to build that rapport with your clients before they purchase, you got to, slide into the DMs or, be posting and sharing and talking ahead of time. And if I can be honest, Samantha, I'm the chiefest of sinners with this because, many of us are entrepreneurs, those of us who are listening. And so we're really locked into doing the work of our business. So, you mean I have to work my business and go live a couple times a week to talk about this thing? I have to work my business and create graphics and schedule those graphics to be posted. Like that's a lot. So how do you manage all of those moving pieces while being an entrepreneur and still having to work your business?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I work with my clients on. And I like to say, when I talk about borrowing other people's audiences, it's because I don't want you to feel like you have to be everywhere doing everything, right? So I always say there is no reason why you can't get out in front of people through other people's platforms, right? So you don't necessarily need to be the podcaster if you're going to just guest on podcasts. And a really interesting fact that the last time I was giving my Authority Island workshop, I gave out was, more people right now, I think it was in the US, I'm up in Canada, but usually the stats are from the US, are listening to podcasts than have Netflix subscriptions. Just think about that for a second. And of those people, 80% of them listen to the end of the episode. Wow. Right? So if you're not the podcaster, you can be on other people's podcasts. You can go live with other people on Instagram if you're not the Instagram person. What I call Authority Island is over on my YouTube channel. And I've got great videos on there. It's all free training, just like a podcast, but it's in video format over on YouTube. And really what I want you to think about is, and this is how this works, is really getting clear on who is serving the same client as you, but not doing what you do. Absolutely. Because as you just said, we're doing all the things. Like I'm not just running showing up and working with my clients or running my membership program. I'm doing all the things. Right. And I don't necessarily have time to be on other people's platforms that aren't serving the audience as me. That's not going to get me anywhere in terms of bringing new people into my audience. So I want to be clear on who is serving the same client as me, but not doing what I do, so that I know that if I'm going on somebody's podcast, or like I'm not on Facebook, if I'm giving a lunch and learn in somebody's booming Facebook group, or I'm going on Instagram with somebody, or even doing a Twitter chat with somebody on Twitter, that they have my audience in there, right? It's all about it's simplifying, but also being intentional or strategic even.
Right.
if you're comfortable with that word. So that's really where it starts, is figuring out that piece. And that way I don't have to be everywhere.
Right.
Right. I can rein stuff back in so that when I do have to create the graphics, the et cetera, and all that, I can start simple with an authority island. And that's where you're bringing like your new, these new audience people that you're meeting, you're bringing them back to your home on the internet, your authority island. But I can pick one place. And then as I'm ready, as I maybe have more team members, I can add in other stuff. And really what I always tell people is you can add in other platforms, but don't create different content for every platform. Because you probably see that all the time where somebody's like, I create everything on YouTube, but then when I'm over here on Twitter, now we're talking about something, and they're basically creating like 6 different content plans or branding plans for 6 different platforms. And that's not the way to do it.
Absolutely. So what I hear you saying, Samantha, is that we need to work smarter and not harder. And ladies, you've heard me speak about this before when we talk about the power of collaboration. So let's kind of flesh out a couple of different examples of what that could look like. So let's say you are a makeup artist, right? And you serve, well, not obviously, but primarily you would serve women, right, who want to have their makeup done. Maybe you serve women in business who want to have their makeup done. If I were you, I would partner with a hairstylist, or I would partner with a brand image person, or even a photographer who serves that same audience, because that audience needs makeup. But you know what I'm saying? And they offer something opposite of what you offer, but it's a package deal. So that way your people can tune in, right, and get value, and then their people can tune in and get value as well. Same thing for many of you out there who are doing personal training. A lot of you are in the health field. If you're a personal trainer, hook up with a nutritionist, right? Because you can't out-train a bad diet, right? And so you are connecting with people who are working together and their skills complement yours. So I'm very glad that you said that, because that is something that I teach as well in my groups. And honestly, like you said, you get to do less work kind of, but still getting more exposure in doing that at the same time. And then I also agree with the idea that you don't have to create Instagram content and then Facebook content and then YouTube content and then Twitter content. I am a cheerleader for repurposing things. I will repurpose the mess out of something. That's why you guys are able to watch this podcast as well as listen to it. There's going to be some snippets that are going to go up on Instagram that are going to point you back to listening to the full episode. And then from there, it's going to point you back to what she's calling our Authority Island, which is the female coaches, consultants, and content creators group on Facebook. Like it all flows together so that you can post in one place. And even, getting a virtual assistant. Shout out to Kay, my virtual assistant, because she takes the podcast and she chops it into little pieces, and she pulls quotes and then turns those quotes into images, and she posts to my Facebook group when we have a new episode live. So having even just that in place for me has been a game changer. So as we are talking about putting together the content for your online course and then figuring out a marketing strategy, Samantha, so now you can tell us, where do we start? Like what are the key pieces to the marketing strategy that we need? Like, is there here's the announcement of the course the first day, this is available. Do we do a pre-order? Like, what are some of the key pieces that we can include in our marketing strategy?
Yeah, I think that, and I want to talk about the pre-sale in a second, because I actually share that with my course creators who are they struggle to like create the whole course at once. But let's talk about that. I think really the first piece is figuring out basically your press tour. What's your blitz, right? Where are you going to be? Who are you going to talk in front of? And then the biggest key is, once you've figured that out, right? These are, like we were just saying, when you were talking about the beauty expert or the makeup artist and the nutritionist, and like figure out how you're going to do all that. Like, who is it going to be? And then how are you going to do it? Right. And very key, if you want to make sure that you're hitting all the platforms, but it doesn't have to be you doing the work, right? So and I'm going to say this right now, Facebook is not my authority island. And I just deleted my Facebook page and my Facebook group because I wasn't using it, which means I'm not getting the benefits of it. And then it was always this reminder that, I'm not using Facebook the way I should be. And it was starting to like get in my head. And I was like, hey, I'm just going to delete that stuff. Now that means in my press tour, I need to make sure that I'm talking to people on Facebook because my audience is still on Facebook. So I need to make sure that the people I'm part of my press tour are people that I can collaborate with go live with them on their Facebook page, maybe do a lunch and learn in their booming Facebook group, right? So we want to make sure that if you're not on a platform, you're still in there. So figuring out your press tour is the first thing. And then being clear, and this is one thing I always say, like when they meet you on this podcast or in this Facebook Live, what do you want the audience to do next? Right? So give them and I always say, do the Oprah thing, right? Give them something. Hey, you want to know how to do this? Come over here, get my free download. You get a free download. You get a free download. You get a free download, right? Because you want to make sure that you're bringing them back to your audience. And I always say, you should be doing this year round. A lot of course creators who I'm seeing successfully sell their courses, or even if it's an online program that they run in cohorts, that they're successful because they are constantly bringing people into their audience so that they have time to nurture them before the launch, right? So really, you want to give them a reason to come back to your audience. And so as part of your strategy, you got to be thinking about it. Is it a workshop that you're about to run? Is it maybe you're about to do a free challenge that leads into the course, right? And if you're doing something like that, the workshop or the free challenge, make sure that the content of those things, prepare them for the course, right? So you want to make sure you're going to look at your course outline and you're going to go, okay, what are some interesting things? And you can use this in your marketing as well. What are some really interesting things, sexy things that people are talking about right now from my course from my course outline that I could create and turn into lead magnets, turn into a challenge, turn into a workshop, right? These things, or a webinar, these things that people are interested in, right? And so from there, what you're going to look at now, of course, once you do that, you're pulling it out of the course. You're not teaching them the same things you teach in the course. You're teaching them what they need to know before they take the course. And a lot of that with your marketing is poking that bear, getting them to realize that this is an issue they have. So once you're out there, you're doing your press tour, you're going to have some kind of workshop, challenge, webinar, whatever that you're inviting them to, right? Give them a reason to come back to your platform, and then you're going to nurture them with your own authority building content, right? You're going to get them back to your authority island. So you said that was your Facebook group. So you're going to get them back to your Facebook group, and maybe you're going live. You're doing a live series for 6 weeks before the course launches. You're going live and they're teaching them every week a lunch and learn. And then, maybe you have some past students. If you have past students or past clients, they're coming on to these lives as well to talk about their experience with you, right? You're really just jiving people up, getting them excited about working with you, but you're doing it based on the course content.
Right. Right. And so basically, another thing that I hear you saying is that you have your course content here, but every module, every worksheet, every idea, every thought can really be its own piece of content that you use in the marketing process. And I like what you said about, if I pull out module 3, let's say the topic of module 3 to do a workshop on it, excuse me, I might be giving them the what, but I'm not giving them the how in the free workshop. When they get into the course, I'll refresh the what, but then give them the how in the actual course. And so that's how you kind of promote it without giving away the farm. You kind of just give them a little moo here. And then when they get inside the course, they get to get the full shebang. And again, y'all, this is really highlighting the fact that you don't have to have a ton of content. You can have one signature thing that you're talking about, how to fill in the blank, whatever your how to is, and then all the things related to that one idea. You know what I'm saying? And then once you master that, once you get that going, and like Samantha said, whether it's in cohorts or whether you're just launching it multiple times a year, or whether it's an evergreen, something that's just available, you get to get that up and running. And then you can do the same thing with another thought. Right? So you can start that whole process, but now you have a model of how to organize your courses, organize the content, organize the launch strategy, set it, forget it, and then repeat. Right? And so this is how people are making multiple 6 figures, 7 figures in their coaching businesses, in their service businesses. They're creating these kinds of funnels that once it's done, and I have the system and I have the model, it runs itself. And that's how you grow that thing. You might do the first round yourself because you don't have a staff. Then the next time around you have a VA who can manage the process, and then the next time around now you have course navigators who can concierge to kind of work with the people one-on-one if they need outside support. Like, you grow it to this massive level where it's running itself. There's people working it for you, and you're over here sipping whatever on the beach because that thing is already making money
the
for you.
actual authority island, right?
Exactly.
On the island.
Exactly.
Right.
That sounds real good right about now too. So yes, I love that you're kind of making it tangible for us and making it reachable, because if I'm honest, as a female entrepreneur wearing all the hats with mom, wife, everything and in between, this course creation piece really feels like a bear. It feels like a massive lift. I am in it now. I'm like, oh, we have to, promote the free thing. And oh, yeah, I got to show up in the group about this thing, but I also have 20 other things that I'm trying to promote. So it's just like, okay, reel it in, figure out where your authority island is, and make sure that all the things that you're pointing, that you're doing outside of there is pointing people back to there. So you're really only having that major conversation right there. That's definitely a concept that's like, okay, all right, we're getting somewhere.
One of the things I like to say too to course creators is when you're creating your course, like, make sure a good course generates leads for your other offers, right? You want to make sure that the course fits into your suite of offers, your value ladder, as I call it, like a glove. Because if you feel like this is another thing, when you're overwhelmed, it's because your audience might be getting whiplash. That might be a reason you're getting crickets when you go to launch. You may be and you're feeling overwhelmed because you're trying to promote all these things, right? Try to figure out like where the course really should fit into the customer journey at a spot where it fits into a spot in the customer journey like a glove with the rest of your suite of offerings, because you want it to be generating leads for that one-on-one work, right? Because especially if you're doing a self-directed course, like, there are some things that can be taught without you standing there holding your customer's hand, which is fantastic, right? Those are the things that go into like a self-directed course. After that, you probably, I like to say, you probably have something that's maybe 50% self-directed, 50% personalized, which is, your memberships, your group coaching. But eventually your customer you want to be leading your customer to a point where there's at some point nothing left to do but hire you for one-on-one work. And I know you have consultants in your audience, right? Because they are going to need that personalization at some point to complete the transformation that you're giving them. So a good course generates leads for those other things. And you may be thinking, well, I don't have the course yet. So I want to talk about pre-selling for a second, because I promised I would come back to that. Really, once you have your course outlined, you should be out there marketing this thing, whether it's done or not, right? Do not wait for the course to be done. Get out there and market it. And you can actually
wait, but that's scary.
I know.
For those of us who are perfectionists, for those of us who, mom life is unpredictable. I hear what you're saying, but like, what if I put it out there and I'm like, something happens? Like, talk, because that's the thought that came to mind as you're like midstream. Like, can you dismantle the fear around launching it and promoting it before it's built?
Yeah. So this can be absolutely terrifying. I mean, I built my business. My kids just went back into the traditional classroom this year. I was homeschooling my daughter. My son was, like a toddler. So yeah, like, there were times where I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And I absolutely get that. And let me tell you, I sold my first course and it wasn't done. So every week I was like, okay, I've got to create a new module. Now, if you're like, nope, that's too terrifying for me, then really let's think about it this way. And because for me, that really works because I needed the accountability of people who have paid me for this. Right. Yeah. So I got to do it. But for other people, you might be like, no, I can't possibly do that. I can't possibly take somebody's money and not know 1001% that I'm going to be able to deliver this. Then what I want you to do is just get out there and just start talking about it and putting people on a wait list. Right? It's a wait list. The course is coming soon. right? You don't have to necessarily say when it's coming. The course is coming soon. Get them on a wait list. Still get out there and talk about it. You don't have to go into full promotion mode. You don't have to go into full launch mode. I just want you out there talking about it. Because if that's you, if you're like, no, I'm not pre-selling because I don't know if I just don't know, then that's okay. It's okay. You got to do what works for you. I think this is one of the things we miss a lot of, is that we see people on social media and they're like, I did this and I'm making this much money, or I'm doing that. And you know, there's this implication of success. And I always say success is yours to define. You're the business owner. You decide. If you're like, Samantha, this piece of what you said sounded great, but that piece didn't, then take the piece that sounded great, make it work for you, and leave the rest. It's your business. It's your life. What do you want? Like, I was just listening to your dream series, and you were talking about your episodes where you talked about dreams and really like thinking about what it is that you want. And you said like a lot of young people don't think about that. And I was one of those people. I didn't think about what I wanted.
Right.
But now as I've started my business, I've really started to say, you know what, like that works for me. That doesn't, this works. This is what my version of success is. And it's terrifying because of course in some places I'm not going against like what's being shown to us on social media, but in others, in other thoughts, I have to say to myself, well, I don't care then. I just won't go on Instagram anymore. Like I have to do what works for me, because this over here is just driving me crazy or making me feel bad about myself. And it's getting in the way of any progress in my business. Right. So I think it's about figuring out what works for you. And when I say pre-sell, or when I say you've got the course outline, you should be out there marketing it. You don't have to go into full launch mode. You don't even have to pre-sell. Pre-selling is great if you want proof of concept, because you put up a landing page, you direct people to the landing page, you do like a welcome video in the first module, and then you drip the rest, right? So you tell them a new module will come every week, and that gives you time to create it. If people buy it, it's a great thing to do. It gives you proof of concept once you have money from people. Then you're like, oh, people want this course. But if it's going to give you anxiety, then do the wait list. Get people on a wait list. Get out there. Get talking about it. So you have time to nurture people as you finish it.
Thank you for that alternative. I just know, like some of us, so for me, it depends on how I'm feeling and what season of life I'm in. There was a time where it was like, you know what? I did actually have a course where I had the outline, but I didn't have it like written. But because I was teaching what I knew, I didn't really need it to be written. The outline was really more so for me to be able to tell them what was coming next, honestly. And so I literally did do each workshop week by week, as opposed to having them all set and ready to go. 1, 2, that worked for me also because I like to do live versus pre-recorded. Like, so like, yeah, if I want, for the people that are just getting to know me, maybe I want some of my entry level courses to be pre-recorded because that stuff is going to be on a more basic level. But when I'm really pouring, I prefer to be live so I can hear you and feel you and answer your specific questions. So that was another reason why the week to week, not fully creating it, but kind of doing it live worked better for me, because it kept me on my own toes, if you will. So that was good. But in this season of life, because at that time, I think, did I have a baby yet? I may have had Sophia was smaller. She's 5 now, but she may have been like 1 or 2 at that point. Now I have a 5-year-old and a 7-month-old. So I need to be able to pre-record some things just in case the baby decides to poop when I'm supposed to go live, for the course. So I definitely love that there are 2 different options that you can really flex depending upon where you are in life, what works for you, your personality type. But I'm also that A-type personality person that works well under pressure. And so that level of accountability to myself definitely works for me when it's like, okay, listen, people are going to show up at 11. What you going to do? So I'm glad that you gave us both of those different options. So as we are talking about the platform, you mentioned dripping content. What is your favorite platform to use for course creation, or do you use multiple ones depending upon what kind of course it is?
I really enjoy Thinkific. So
okay.
I'm Canadian. I'm up here in the Canadian winter right now. It's freezing cold. And I Thinkific is Canadian. So they understand the Canadian business. Anytime I send an email that's like Canadian business owner issue type thing, they know how to answer it. But I really like Thinkific because they are always trying to up their game. So when I talk to course creators, I tell them, you don't want to select a platform based on, you had a coupon for it, you Googled it, it was the top results, somebody told you it was really great, or you played around with it for 5 minutes and it had a lot of features, it seemed good. Those are going to come into it, but don't let those be your deciding factors. You want to make sure that the platform really suits your current needs and it gives you room to grow. So when you're looking at these platforms, you want to make sure that they have plans that you can grow into that are going to do what you want for the next 3 to 5 years for your business. You want to take a look at the merchant fees and the hosting fees, right? Because everybody's going to charge you to host on their platform, but there's also the Stripe and PayPal fees, right? And some places are going to take care of you better than others. And the main reason that I really enjoy Thinkific is ease of integration, right? I need to know that everything else that I'm using is going to be able to talk to my platform. Otherwise, if I have to pay Zapier $25 a month to do it, then really what's the point, right? So I'm looking for something that will talk to, as many of my other tools as possible. Or if you're looking at something like Kajabi, that will replace a bunch of those things, right? So that's really how I make my decisions. I love Thinkific because and most of them allow you to drip content, which just means that you can set a schedule for release of content. So for example, let's say the baby has a great week and you actually get to record 2 modules. Then you can put both modules, right? You can put both modules in your Thinkific portal and just schedule them to release over the next 2 weeks, right?
Right.
So I really love that. I also love that it integrates, but you really want to be clear too, because some of your clients, if they may be thinking about Teachable didn't really work for me because there was some issues with the hosting fees. Things were getting converted from Canadian to US and back to Canadian. And for your Canadian coaches in the audience, they know our dollar's never doing that good. So I was losing some extra unnecessary cash on that conversion. But because you have coaches and consultants, for those of you in the US, Teachable has really, last year they introduced, you could sell courses, but then they were also introducing packages like coaching packages that you could add on. Like they're really going after that the people who have a course that they bundle with maybe some hours of coaching, right? Awesome. So it's the 3 things I mentioned, but it's also looking at who they're targeting and who they want on their platform, because that means they're going to take even better care of you. And they're always going to be trying to do better for you because you're one of the people that they're going after.
Awesome. So when you've selected your platform, your content is ready to go, you've decided, whether you're going to drip content and create as you go or not. What are some of the components, like from a marketing standpoint? We kind of want to bring it back to this, like there's the landing page, let's talk about the customer experience rather, as you're, from the marketing standpoint, like what are some of those pieces that we want to make sure are like airtight, as people are interested in our course?
I think the biggest thing, yes, the landing page needs to be great. The sales page needs to be great. And for all intensive purposes, wherever possible, even if you're hosting over here on Thinkific, there are ways to still use Thinkific's checkout box. And even with their affiliate program that they've got, there are ways to do it and still direct to your website, because you do want that landing page on your website. Because what if they stumble on something else and they're like, oh, the course is great, but you know what? I really actually want her mastermind, which is, $1,000 instead of a $20 course, right? And it brings SEO back to your website. So you want to design that landing page there, and you want to make sure that if they're buying the course, getting on the wait list, whatever it is, you've got this sequence, an email sequence that isn't generic, but does what you want it to do. So if they're on the wait list, the sequence needs to hype them up for when the doors open to the course. If they've bought the course and maybe they're getting, maybe they get instant access, then you want to be there supporting the email sequence needs to be, a couple emails that gets them excited to get in there, gets them actually into where the course is, and then supports them through the journey. Because online course creation right now, from the stats they have, the course completion rate is only 3% on average. You want to be in the 97%. Those people, like, we want to get that number up as an industry, but I just want you to be in the 97% where people are finishing your course because you have more to offer them. You have other products and services afterwards, and you're not in it for the money. You're in it to make your impact. You're in it to help your customers. So you care if they finish the course.
Right.
So your email sequence really needs to be getting them in there, getting them excited, and then supporting them. And you can think about that too in how you package your course, right? And that's something we haven't really talked about. How do you package your course? Is it just the course? Is it the course and a community? Is it, what does it look like? What are they getting? I always say, how are you supporting them with accountability and implementation? Yeah. And you want to think about that and how you package your course.
Yeah.
Right.
That's go ahead.
I was going to say, because that's going to be the key. That's what's going to make the difference. That's what's going to allow you to have the impact on their lives that you want to have.
Right. And so, I love that, and I'm sure that when people come to work with you, you take them through this entire process, in terms of what they want it to look like, how can they show up in this particular course and all those different pieces. So I love that. So this is just like a personal preference question when it comes to sales pages, really, really long sales pages with all the information, or like a boom, 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 sign up for the course, you'll get more information inside. Like what do you feel is like, is there a medium? Because I've seen both. I've seen sales pages where it's like, I'm still scrolling and this is just, you got testimonials. The dog liked it. The husband liked it. This is what I ate while I took the course. And it was just like, oh my gosh. So what makes up a good sales page for our courses?
I think the key is there's a couple of things people always want to know. And this is just we're at this day of like instant gratification. So people want to know, like, just tell me what works and I'll do that. But the reality is you have to test stuff out. So if you're creating a sales page, do an A/B test, have one that's really long and have one that's really short and see what happens. Right. Talk to your audience, because for me, it really depends on how well I know the person.
Okay. Right.
So if I know the person really well, then I just really want to know like exactly what I'm getting and how much it costs and where do I sign up? And that would be great if your audience is very like, they don't have a lot of time. So just give them the basics so that they can buy. Right. If I don't know them, then I might want to look a little bit more. I want to see, and I've bought stuff off a sales page that I was only skimming, but I saw a testimonial from somebody I knew. Right. Okay. So it really just depends on who your audience is. I think you would also agree that it depends on what your brand is.
Right.
If you're like short, sweet, to the point, then you're going to create a sales page that's short, sweet, and to the point, because that's what your audience is used to getting from you. Right. Right. So you want to make sure that whatever you're doing is on brand. You want to test it out and see what works. Right. Do a test for a couple of days as traffic is coming through to your website. And if people are converting more on the longer page, then go with the longer page, right? You want to test it out. And really, sometimes it comes down to, what is your own personal preference, because your brand is always a reflection of you. Right. Yeah. I always say I have your 7-month-old probably has about the exact same attention span I have. So if we're running through, like if I'm looking through a whole sales page, I very likely will get bored and walk away if I can't easily skim it and find what I want. Right. And that's a great medium for those of you who are like, well, I don't really know my audience. I'm sure, Samantha, I'll do the A/B test, but I don't really know my audience. If you're doing that, if you're doing the long page, make it skimmable. Because then at least I can go through and quickly skim stuff. Don't give me long paragraphs. I'm probably not going to read that. Give me bullet points.
Yeah, I was just going to say that bullet points are your friend. Bolded text is your friend, So no, I agree. And having the understanding that your brand is an extension of you. So if people like you because you're fun and you're silly and you're very conversational, then you want your sales page to be that, because basically they're meeting you on your sales page if they haven't met you other places. So that's awesome. Listen, we could be here all day talking about this subject matter. So Samantha, as we land the plane here, what is the biggest mistake? I know that there are multiple mistakes that we can make that you see with the people that you work with, but what's the biggest mistake in your estimation that people make when setting out to market their online courses?
The biggest mistake, there's actually two big mistakes. And one I've already talked about is really figuring out how the course fits into your business so that it's generating leads for your other stuff. Because then you can promote the course and know that you've got the systems in place in the back end, which you'll create, that will lead people from the course to your higher ticket offerings.
Right.
The other mistake that I see made is that when the course outline is done, when you have the idea even for the course, get out there and start building authority. This isn't marketing the course, but it's getting your name out there, getting known for that one thing. And if you go onto my YouTube channel, I have a great video on how an Outlander star used his role on Outlander to like create a ton of different business opportunities. Get out there, get your name known for this, for whatever the course is going to be on. Start building your audience, start nurturing that audience, start bringing them back so that when you launch, when you're ready to start marketing and launching and opening the doors, you have people there who love you, who know and trust you, and are just clamoring to give you their credit card to take the course.
Awesome. 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 Ladies, I'm sure your pens are smoking right now from all the notes that you were taking during this conversation. Samantha, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. Ladies, I hope you feel more comfortable. I hope you feel safer about embarking on this journey of releasing your courses. This is the year. I don't care if you're listening in 2029, this is the year that you need to get it out. Don't worry about it being perfect. Get it out, because where you are in terms of your expertise, you're still ahead of somebody else. So you have something that you can teach that other person. All right. So thank you guys so much. Samantha, let us know how to connect with you, what you have available to us, how we can work with you, all of those things.
Absolutely. I would love it if everybody would head on over to my YouTube channel. I explain everything you need to know about creating and selling your online course in 5 minutes or less, which I know your audience will love because they're busy. So you can take a look. The channel is, of course, my name's Samantha King, but the URL is at Samantha King _ SYOC, sell your online course. So just Samantha King _ SYOC, and go on over there and connect. And there's lots of great things going on always in the Authority Island world, whether it's my virtual summit, whether it is our membership program, or of course my Authority Island course, which you can get for $67. Head on over to sellyouronlinecourse.com to get on my list so you find out when any of that stuff is happening.
Awesome. 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 Well, ladies, there you have it. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want you to get off of here and get to work. But before you do that, make sure you go over to Facebook and the Female Coaches, Consultants, and Content Creators group. Join us in there. There'll be more content like this. There are going to be some exclusive things that are not going to be on the podcast that will only be in the group for the F3C community. So make sure you head on over there and join me. I'll be over there. And we're going to have a great time. So thank you for listening. And I'll see you next week for another episode of the Brittany Smith Podcast. Bye. And cut.
Awesome.
Yay, we did it.
Yeah, we're all done. So what is your, if you don't mind me asking, like, what is your, I was looking at your website. Do you talk, like when you're speaking, like doing stuff like that, do you talk about graphics? Do you talk about like, what's some of the topics you talk about?
Yeah, so I'm actually in the middle of revamping my website because I had BrittanySmith.com and then Brittany Smith Creative. And Brittany Smith Creative was more the website design, the graphic design, all the like services. And then BrittanySmith.com was me as a speaker, author, coach, whatever. But I'm combining them right now. So when I do speak, it's anything from like motivational, inspirational to brand strategy. I'm a brand strategist as well. Creative ideas. Right now, I've been on this kick about being more visible online, as well as how to diversify your streams of income in your business with just one idea. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of do the brand strategy from a place of how can we multiply these ideas into multiple ideas. And then anything that's design related, brand identity. I have a build your brand boot camp that I did where we talked about your why and who your audience is and all those basic branding things. So I don't know if that answers your question, kind of talk about a little bit of everything, but branding is like the overarching thing. And then in terms of just like talking, authenticity is a thing of mine. I have a book coming out called Brand New Day, where it's talking about igniting your personal brand and becoming more authentic as a woman in business, basically. So being an authentic woman in business is kind of like my thing.
Yeah, no, because I run a summit. I run a summit. We're actually doing speaker searches right now for a summit. It's a virtual summit type thing where like we all come together and we're not getting paid for speaking, but we're getting leads from it. And
Yeah.
and so that's kind of how it works. And so that's why I was saying it's called Friend Zone to Authority Island. So it's for people who are friends, like it's for course creators who basically want to do what I do. And I talk about borrowing other people's audiences, but I always bring other people together. And so actually a talk on authenticity in your brand might actually be really good. So I can send you the details if you want to take a look. It's in April.
Absolutely. And I literally just did something similar in December called Paid to Create. And I literally had 10 people from all over the place. And like you said, just kind of talk about different pieces of branding and business. So I'm down. Definitely send me the information.
Okay, I will, because I know as we're talking, we're driving, but also like I was listening to the podcast. I'm on BrittanySmith.com. So I saw a bunch of stuff and I was like, I should really talk to her and see if this is something, because I have course creators, but they may be like a lot of them will be coaches and consultants just from the strategy that I was talking about, how you want it to generate one-on-one work. But either way, it doesn't matter. They'll need help with their brand to stand out online.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. Yes. Okay, I'll send you that information then.
Cool. Thank you so much. And I'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks, Brittany. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.